So a lot of people saw the video on YouTube talking about the rant that I had for PSO2, things like that. So figured it was time to maybe go into a little bit more detail, explaining what's going on and break it up into some parts so that people will better understand where I'm coming from. Starting with Phantasy Star Online, the game allowed you to cast spells known as techniques at varying strengths while playing as any of the three classes that were in the game: Hunter, Force, or Ranger. As long as your player wasn't a cast, you were able to cast magic. Here right now you're seeing my character cast Shifta and Deban, which are the attack and defense buffing spells. And then now here she's casting Jelen and Zalor, which are the attack and defense lowering spells. And you see right here in the video that she has a saber equipped. As a hunter, this was the starter equipment. Right here she's barehanded, showing that you didn't even have to have a weapon equipped to cast any spells. Here she's casting Jelen and Zalor again, and then she's going to attack without a weapon at all. This is one of the things that made PSO really unique. You'll even see right here that she's casting Resta, the healing spell, without a weapon equipped at all. In this part of the video, you see she has a handgun equipped, and right after she casts the Jelen and Zalor spells, she casts attack magic, the fire spell Foy, the electric spell Zonde, and the ice spell Barda. And it just goes to show that it didn't matter what weapon you had equipped, if you had one equipped at all. The only thing that changed was the casting animation of the spell itself, which varied between male and female characters. There were no restrictions on the actual magic that you casted when it came to the original PSO. You could be a hunter and cast spells, you could be a ranger and cast spells, or you could play as the force and cast spells. The only difference between the three classes was the actual strength of the spells. Forces were able to cast techniques all the way up to level 30, while hunters were able to cast it either at 15 or 20, depending if you played as the male or female, and the same thing went for rangers. And even between those two classes, because of the difference in magic strength all four characters had, even those four characters had differences in the strength of spells. But there were no restrictions on them as far as what you could cast outside of the revival spell Reverser, as well as the strength of your anti-spell, which was the status effect remover. In Phantasy Star Universe, no longer you had the freedom to be able to cast your techniques regardless of the class you played as. Phantasy Star Universe implemented classes to where you had to play something that was at least Tekker focused or Tekker related to allow you to cast spells. As well as now you no longer had the freedom to cast spells without a weapon equipped. You always had to have some kind of Tekker weapon on, whether it was a wand, a rod, or some kind of tech mag. But with Phantasy Star Universe also came new techniques that you cast. Right now you're seeing not only Jelen and Zalor, but you also saw the evasion debuff Zodiel. Here in the buffing spells, you have your usual Shifta and Deban, which came from the first Phantasy Star game. But also now you see the evasion and accuracy buff of Zodiel, as well as your magic buff in Retier. The next spell you're going to see here is Resta, which functions as a revive spell, a regen spell, as well as a heal all in one. The following spell after that is Megistar, which provides a multi-buff of all four buffs in Phantasy Star Universe in exchange for some HP. In addition to the previous spells that were in Phantasy Star Online, a new element Earth was added to the spells, allowing you to cast the Diga series of spells. In addition to Diga, Gidiga, and Radiga, a new version of spells was added to just about every element, including the Nas series and the Dam series. In base PSO2, certain things were changed. Returning was the fact that you could cast spells regardless of the weapon that you had equipped, or even you could go barehanded and cast spells. What also remained was that from PSU, you could only cast spells if you played certain classes. New to the series was the wind spell Zon, but what was left out was the Diga series, which was the Earth series. Also new to the series was the charging of spells. Uncharged spells were weaker while charged spells gave a full effect. In addition to having charged spells, you could also craft spells for different effects such as reduced PP cost or higher strength. Also was implemented was that some of the spells like Jelen and Zalor were moved to character skill trees. Also the revive spell Reverser was done in this way. Shift and Deban were the only support spells, but they could be cast by any class. Only the class Tekker was able to take advantage of special effects. In New Genesis, both uncharged and charged spells were viable. There would just be different effects and visuals depending on which version you used, which allowed for some variety when you're casting your techniques. Unfortunately, the Earth element from PSU, as well as the Nos and Dam series of spells, didn't return. Shift and Band were replaced from being a spell to now being a Tekker skill that you can only use if you played as Tekker on your main class, meaning that Tekker subs would not be able to cast Shift and Band from their skill tree. Also, you see this green flower that my character is approaching? That is now what you heal with. The rest of the spell is gone, and you use this green flower called a rest assign to heal. And you'll see that my character does a area heal here that only Tekkers and forces can use. That is how you heal your party. So no more healing yourself or healing others with spells. This yellow flower functions as your revival item, so no more moon atomizers. It's now called a reverse assign. And there's also no more Giresta like in PSU or reverser like in the original PSO. These are the type of things that I was talking about when I streamed. I think the techniques were just handled wrong. Now, there are some cool things, like you can stack the elemental effect that you'll be seeing me do here that has you cause area of effect explosions depending on the element that you're using. That's pretty cool. But not being able to heal yourself or revive others with the spells that have existed since 1989 in the Phantasy Star RPGs is a little weird. Not being able to cure status effects with a spell that has also existed since 1989 in the same series of games is also weird. Yeah, now I know for the purists out there that Anti was only a poison cure back in the day, but by the year 2000 it was able to cure everything as long as you leveled it up to 7. Adding and removing Diga from the Phantasy Star Universe series is also strange. Why give us an Earth element and then take it away? Not having Jelen, which existed since 1993, or Zalor, which existed since the year 2000, is also strange. Why can't we debuff our enemies, especially when you're fighting difficult enemies in the game like Malevolence or Ancients, or even the elite enemies that you see in the combat areas? And well, that's going to do it for me. If you made it to the end of this video, I definitely appreciate you for watching and hearing me out. Next video, I'm going to talk about the weapon selection, or lack of thereof. Anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the bottoms, and maybe I'll see you on the next one, or perhaps I'll see you on Twitch. Anyway, I'm Nerdy, and I'm out of here.